I'm so excited to have Keith Aron today on our Voices of Inclusion. I've given Keith very little preamble into what we're talking about. And Keith, this is the first time you and I are meeting. So before we go into the interview, I want to check with you. I like to go beneath the surface in our conversations. That's where I think the real wisdom lives. So are you ready to go deep? Like, I mean, really lower the waterline and go to the places that are harder to talk about, but fun for people to hear about.
I'm ready. I've got my scuba gear right here. I'm ready to go with you, Priya.
All right. Well, we're doing this together. So if we have to come up for air, we will do that and we'll let each other know if we have to do that. So Voices of Inclusion really is about leadership and how people are using their leadership to bring about inclusive practices and inclusive spaces. So I believe that everyone influences the people around them. Everyone's a leader, whether they like it or not. Not everyone uses the power of their leadership in ways that they're aware of. But just by existing in the world, we create ripples. And in this way, we're all leaders. And I'm curious if we can start here, Keith. What kind of leader are you?
I'm a reluctant leader, kind of like you, it sounds like. I agree with you. I think that we all are in leadership positions, whether we know it or not. And I think I've found myself increasingly in some leadership positions just by virtue of showing up, because I think this is a hard time to show up in. And that's pretty much what it takes to be recognized or earmarked as a leader right now, is just consistently showing up. So I'd say I'm a consistent and somewhat reluctant leader. Um, yeah.
I love it. It's the first time I've heard somebody say reluctant. And I, with your permission, would like to unpack what you mean by
Sure.
reluctant. And I'm so glad you say that because I think so many of the people we work with, when I say I believe we're all leaders, there's like a catching of the breath that happens. And I wonder if it's part of that reluctance.
Yeah, I guess it's thanks for asking about this. I think part of the reason I used the word reluctant, it really just bubbled right up. I wasn't planning on that word coming out, but I think part of it for me is I am a pretty introverted person. I have a lot of sensory sensitivities, and I'm not a particularly social creature. I'm much more comfortable in some senses behind the scenes. And yet, I don't know, I also have this ability I've found over the years to just keep showing up even when I feel afraid. And that does sort of, it's like some kind of quiet leadership that
Mm.
emerges, but I'm not a terribly gregarious person. I'm not, as I said, somebody who gravitates towards the social scene. So that's sort of what I meant by reluctance.
Thanks for that. I was sort of sensing the processing happening as you were, for me, sharing. What I really love about what you've shared is, to me, leadership is very much about self-awareness. And
Mm.
what I just got from you is an awareness of who you are.
Mm.
I wonder if you could share, if we could just zoom back out for a moment. Tell us a little bit about your profession, what you do, and how you're grounding your leadership.
Okay, so I'll just start by saying I have mostly been a jack of many trades over the course of my lifetime. I've not had a single career, as probably many people haven't, but I really have done a lot of very divergent things. But for the last couple of years, I've been a transformational coach. I work mostly in the individual realm with individuals who are really looking to not just work on a particular issue, but work on their way of being in their own skin and in the world. Especially folks who are wanting to do a bit of a deeper dive on really examining their values across the board. Um, so in terms of how I ground myself in leadership in that role, I would say that, it's up to me not to fix anybody or not to act like I have answers for anybody, because I really don't. But it is my role to hold a very sturdy container for people and to ensure that there is a judgment-free space, hopefully a brave space where they can show up and go as deep as they want to below the surface with me, being a sturdy, steadfast companion who accompanies them and asks them some questions based on what I'm seeing. So I feel like I'm a leader in that sense. Like it's my job to sort of be their Sherpa, if you will.
Mhm.
Um, but not to be their mentor, not to be their sort of savior in any way, but simply to hold that space and to ask engaging questions, engaged and engaging questions. Um, I'll also just say that sort of on the side, I'm also a writer, and I do a fair amount of what I would call activism. And so there's some elements of leadership in that as well. Just really, I try to write playfully but responsibly and put content out that I feel led to put out from an essential place in myself that I think is maybe supportive of people, especially during this time.
Mhm. Yeah, I can hear now, of course, as I'm talking to you, I have two, probably multiple agendas intersecting with each other, but one of them is, that one hat I'm wearing is coach, and another hat I'm wearing is sort of, first person, like just person, like who are
Yeah.
you kind of thing, and how do we connect? But as a coach, what I'm hearing is a reveal of values already,
Mm.
right? Like you bring this playfulness, you bring this thoughtfulness, this like honoring space to your profession and to your craft. Um, and I want to also name that I heard an embedded definition of coaching in your answer to me,
Mm.
right? And I, as a professional coach, and I wonder if this is your experience too, Keith, people do often come to us for answers and are
Oh,
not
yes.
satisfied with this answer of like, well, I'm here to hold space, right? They're like, what
Mm.
the heck does that mean? Right?
Yeah.
They do want answers, they want solutions, they wanted them yesterday. And we're saying, no, I'm not going to pretend that I know them. In fact, my not knowing is perhaps the greatest entry point to you discovering yours, your path forward. How do you navigate that with your clients when your clients are like, wait, I want this, and you're doing this other thing that I don't really understand?
Yeah. It's like a really good question. And yes, it does come up. I've literally had people say, I want you to tell me what to do.
Totally, me
Um,
too.
so I guess first off, I really try to be very clear in the introductory sort of chemistry or exploratory call with people to tell them very explicitly, I don't have answers for you. So if that's what you're looking for, I'm probably not your person. So try to head it off at the pass from the get-go. But if it comes up in session, I usually try to gently just feed their question back to them. Maybe just tell them, like, I'm noticing there seems to be a pull to want me to tell you answers. What do you make of that? Like, what's behind that? What's coming up? Is there something coming up under that that we can look at that might be fruitful? So just try to feed it back to them. And then if I need to, I will say again, as we've mentioned before, this is not a space where I'm going to be pulling things off a shelf and handing you prefabbed solutions.
Yeah.
And I remind them too that I really do believe they are the expert on themselves. And they simply need some help remembering that and rediscovering that, or discovering it even for the first time within themselves.
Don't we all, right?
Yeah.
I think that's one of the
Yeah,
greatest
me
gifts
too.
of human connection is that it promises, with good listening and good curiosity, it promises an answer.
Yeah.
How it gets generated is to me less important. And so I will tell my clients, like, you will get answers. They're not going to come from my brain, right?
Yeah.
They're going to
Yeah.
come from our connection and our work together and the dance that we're doing. You will get insights.
Right.
And
So,
it's too easy if I give you the answers, and they won't work, by the way.
well, exactly, because I mean, you've probably heard this too, and I deeply believe this, that even neurologically, the learning will be hardwired in if they're the ones coming up with their own solutions. And I sometimes will say that too.
Yeah.
This is one of the reasons why.
I love that. Yeah, I love the neurological thing. I want to remember that and use that if you're okay with that. Um,
Absolutely.
for me, it's also like being on the receiving end of good coaching. When I generate my own answers, I'm more likely to take action. I'm
Mm,
more likely to learn something sustainably, learn that lesson. I'm more likely to take responsibility and feel empowered for the choices I make than if
yeah,
somebody
me
else told
too.
me what to do.
Yeah, because as much as people say they want someone to tell them what to do, nobody wants to be told what to do, in my
I'm kidding.
experience. Yeah.
You know what happens actually? I was just talking to someone about this. When somebody gives you the answer, you almost always get, well, I've already tried that. So it's
Mm,
like, of
yeah.
course you have, right? You've tried everything that we haven't thought about. So let's go a little bit further. Let's open up a space of creativity and
Yeah.
possibility and see what might else be there.
I love that. Yeah, absolutely. Because they
Yeah.
wouldn't be coming to a coach if they knew what to do.
You would
When
think.
they've
Yeah.
tried a million things and there's
Yeah.
some amount of recognition that like what I'm doing isn't working. I need a boost. I need some partnership here.
Yeah. Which I think takes courage to say
Absolutely.
and do.
Vulnerability and courage. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Keith, how do you want to be known?
I want to be known as someone who tells the truth. Yeah. I mean, I've done a lot of looking, as probably many people who go into coaching have, of like, why do I feel I'm here? And I really
Hmm.
do feel like I'm here to be a truth teller. And I don't mean like blunt force truth telling. I just mean like really identifying the truth, locating it in myself, and then sharing that, because I think that that's the greatest gift we can give anybody, including, and it's a gift we give ourselves too when we share that. So I think I want to
Yeah.
be known as somebody who really tried their best
Hmm.
to tell the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel the effort in that it's not a foregone conclusion, that the things we say are truths, that
Yeah.
it takes some consciousness, it takes effort, it takes a whole lot of grace. What, if anything, challenges you to do that?
I feel like I'm constantly just humbled by circumstances and life and whatever creative forces out there in the universe. Because the
Yeah.
minute I think I really know something, there's always a deeper level and I learn something new. And so when I say that, I actually was thinking after that came out of my mouth, I want to clarify that what I mean by truth is the truth as I understand it in any given moment. Because I think what also spurs me to say that is I've spent a lot of time living somebody else's truth
Mm, mm.
and not being in touch at all with what was true for me. And now that I've done enough work to understand the difference between those two, I really want to be able to share that with people.
Yeah, and what a gift. Like it feels massive to offer that.
Yeah.
And I think that it is, I mean, I'm going to make a sweeping generalization here. It feels like a universal that we've all felt some way living someone else's agenda or truth or
Mhm.
plan. And taking that back is, brave, it's hard, it's challenging, it needs to be witnessed by others. We cannot do it in isolation.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think simply the energy of coming from that place is really transformative. Even
Yeah.
if the content, not that it's not important at all, but I think the energy of coming from that place is really just so unspeakably powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. So, from that perspective, I want to ask you, what do people get wrong about you? What do people typically misunderstand about who you are?
Well, so yeah, this is a big one for me because I think people have been so conditioned by the gender binary that pervades our culture, probably every culture in the world. I'm just taking a wild guess there. That I think I've been misunderstood along the gender binary in both directions quite a lot. And kind of going hand in glove with that, just getting read incorrectly, again, on both sides of the gender binary, and also getting, it's a strange thing. Let me see if I can put this into words. Like there's a whole lot of life that I lived before I went through a gender transition that is invisible to some extent if you don't know that I went through a gender transition. And so I think it's something along those lines of, whereas somebody who hasn't experienced some of the things I have, narratives that people make up automatically might track a bit more. I think
Mm,
it's wildly challenging for people to sort of gauge me along an age continuum too, because people usually think I'm about 15 to 20 years younger than I am, which is another interesting thing to
yeah,
live with and can be all kinds of different ways. But I think just from a physical sort of reading me culturally, that there's a lot that people assume that isn't at all my story.
yeah,
So I guess
yeah.
that's my answer for that.
Yeah, thank you. It's part of the reason I ask that is to normalize and spread uh, this concept of being misunderstood. That we
Mm-hmm.
live in spaces where we are constantly misunderstood
Yeah.
and needing to navigate that and decide when we want to claim who we are and when we're okay with radical acceptance with the misunderstanding that
Yeah.
has been imposed and projected by society onto us that we're like can influence to some degree but don't have much control over.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. There's a lot of discernment that I personally do along those very lines all the time.
How do you do that? Do you have a sense of the process of discernment for you?
Yeah, I mean, well, frankly, some of it is just straight up safety related for me
Yeah.
being a trans person right now, who I divulge to or not. So some of it's trusting my animal body about where it's a safe space to do that or not. Some of it depends on my own resourcing on any given day and how much I feel the capacity to give the other person in terms of filling in the blanks and course correcting any kind of misperception. Some of it is the nature of the relationship. If it's somebody I'm going to be investing in a relationship with, I certainly am more willing to do some of that labor of filling in the blanks. So I guess there are
Mm.
a number of variables at play with my discernment process.
Yeah, thank you. So that sort of leads to my next line of inquiry, which is about, and we've been talking under the surface about identity. I think if I were to encapsulate it into a theme about who we are, who you are, Keith. And so we can go beyond identity, or we can stay here. I'm just curious how you're going to answer this one. What commitments have you made that you no longer believe in?
Hmm. Wow, that's such an intriguing question. What commitments have I made that I no longer believe in? Um, well, for some reason, I'm wanting to go in the direction of like some of the disillusionment that has come up
Mm,
for me in the past year, I would say. Um, I think I have in the past, maybe not even the too distant past, I have felt some sort of commitment to allegiance to my national identity
mm-hmm.
that feeling I'm feeling is no longer sturdy for me, that commitment, and I'm questioning that commitment. And I guess I would say, I used to be very committed in an unconscious or a semi-conscious way to upholding, the values that I was raised with and some sort of allegiance, again, in a really unconscious way, to the idea of a gender binary. Those are things that I now, like some of the things that were introduced to me as truth that I now see are constructs.
Yeah.
Things like race and gender and genre and writing and um, national identity and these things that are really constructs that I think many of us, for sure me, have been kind of like force fed and swallowed as truth or things that need to be committed to, that I really now am questioning. Like, I really don't think they do, nor do I think I want to in many.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that I heard you say the word now, and I want to clarify what that means. Is that a reflection? Is this commitment and the questioning of this commitment a reflection of the climate we are in right now? Is this a developmental thing about where you are in your life? How do you place it in your life?
Yeah. Um, I think honestly, it's a combination of all the things you just named, but certainly the climate that we're in right now is coloring a lot of things for me. But it's interesting because this moment in time that we're in historically and politically here coincides with me being in a deeper level of intimacy with myself than I've ever been in before. So I really do think there's some interplay there.
Yeah.
Um, I understand myself more now, and I understand my own history at a deeper level than any time previously. And it's coinciding with this incredible moment of constriction, is I guess how I'll put it, in this country and in the
Yeah.
world. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Um, I'm one of the biggest questions that I struggle with too is what crossroads are you at in your life right now?
Yeah. Well, I just officially, by some standards, became a senior citizen this year. I'm 55. And I think I'm at this crossroads that probably lots of people come to, where it's like, okay, hopefully I have like a fair amount of time left on Earth, but I don't know how much longer I have and what do I want to do with the rest of this. It's making that, again, coupled with this moment of time we're in, is making it every choice seem like kind of a big one for me about how to spend my time and what to invest in, what to invest my resources in.
It's kind of amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Um, I'm reflecting on how that question get appears for me to get louder as I get older.
Hmm.
I'm 47. For a long time, the question of, um, what am I doing with my life was an exciting one and like future oriented one. And now at 47, I'm sort of like, I've done a lot with my life. What am I doing with my life? Right? It's like it
Hmm.
has a
Yeah.
different tone to it. I just
Yeah.
spent some time in the Alberta ice fields.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was incredible. And just hearing what you're saying about I'm 55, I'm asking myself at this point in my life, it feels like a crossroads about where what does this mean for the rest of my life? And just being in the ice fields, I was like, wow, the air is crisp. And this is what is meant, I believe, was meant for my body, right? To be
Hmm.
out in nature. And how do I sort of grapple with want the longing for that connection, but needing to
Yeah.
like still make a living and take kids to extracurriculars and fix my car and all
Yeah.
those things where it doesn't feel as easily accessible as it once was.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I'll be honest, I noticed like a real shift in my physical stamina. Like
Yeah,
I'm in pretty good shape. I'm fortunate to have pretty good health. And still, I know that I don't have the kind of physical stamina that I did 10 years ago.
yeah,
So that factors in too and makes those decisions seem even more precious.
yeah, yeah. That's a reality of our aging process. Where will you be 1 year from now?
Oh, Priya. Um, yeah, I'm gonna get really real here. Like, I don't know, because the reality for many, many people who are under a lot of scrutiny right now at the federal level is really intense. But for trans people, it's really intense. And I don't know, because I literally don't know what rights I may or may not have a year from now. But
Yeah,
hopefully I'll be doing the same things that I'm doing today. And hopefully I'll be in a space where I can still try to find joy on a daily basis.
yeah,
I too love nature, and that's been such a reliable source of joy for me. So hopefully I'll be enjoying nature. Hopefully I'll be coaching
mhm,
clients. Hopefully I'll be writing and sharing my writing.
yeah,
Hopefully I'll just be living my life with the same kind of rights that everyone
yeah,
else has. Yeah.
yeah. I certainly hope. I heard hopefully a lot just now. I feel the same way. I'm putting as much, just like karmic energy as I can into that optimism and that hope. Optimism has waned for me, if I'm being honest, but hope doesn't. So I'm just same as you, hopeful that we can meet again in a year and you can say, I'm doing the things I said I hoped for.
Yeah. I love visioning to a year from now where things have actually gone better than maybe we fear. Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing we can do with our clients is to have them look back. Where were you a year ago? And we
Mhm.
often underestimate, we overestimate typically what we can do in 1 year, but we underestimate what
On
we did in the
optimism.
past year. Yeah, totally. And then looking back, like, oh, wait a second, I did all these things. Okay, so if I look at every year what I've done and who I've become, it's likely that if I continue on the same path, if I'm fortunate enough to continue living and have my rights bestowed on me, that in the next year, it's likely that that path will continue, right? And that I
Yeah.
can dream and I can, be surprised by what life offers me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my goal is to keep growing and
Yeah.
evolving as a human inside a soul or something like that, to just keep growing. So hopefully in a year, that would be another part of my answer. Hopefully a year from now, I'll be able to say, yeah, look at all this growth that has happened
Yeah.
over the
Yeah.
last 12 months.
Growth is it. Yeah, I love that. What are some challenges that are now in your rear view mirror?
Yeah. Um, Such a big question. Um,
Small
all right,
question.
let me not tell you every single thing, but I would say the biggest thing that comes to mind when you ask me that is the challenge of not being sure whether or not I wanted to be me.
Mm,
There was a long time where I really wasn't sure about whether or not I wanted to be me. And that is, I feel, in the rearview mirror. I mean, there are days when I like being me more than others, but it's not a question anymore. I don't long to be someone else. And that's even notwithstanding what's going on right now for trans folks. I still want to be me. So that's for sure the biggest one. Um, I've had a lot of like really challenging situations like divorce and that I had a son 26 years ago, almost 27 years ago, and he is a thriving adult. And so that's a challenge that, I'm not confronting anymore. Like, will my child turn into a decent human being? I didn't really ever doubt that, but he really has. So that's one. I've survived the death of both my parents now, and so that's no longer a challenge that I have to face. So
mm,
there are a number of things, like pretty big ticket things, but the biggest thing is just, oh, thank the gods, goddesses, goddesses that I'm clear on wanting to be who I am.
me too. Thank you. Thank you. Um, Okay, we end Voices of Inclusion always with this question.
Okay.
And I am always amazed at the direction people go in. What is a semi-big decision that you have to make this month?
A semi-big decision.
Yes.
Okay, and that's
Therein
it's a
lies the
self-defined term.
conundrum.
Yeah. Um, let's see here. A semi-big decision, I guess maybe something that falls into that category is, so I'm getting ready to launch a new website, and a semi-big decision is whether or not I want to put on my website that I'm offering any services related to a thing that I'm doing on the down low, which is astrology related. That feels like a big decision to me as to whether or not to make that public.
Yeah, I can feel that.
Yeah.
I want to just like you just hooked me on something. I'm reading this book right now called I Don't Believe in Astrology. I'm sure you've read this book.
Catchy title. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the book is not trying to convince anyone to believe in astrology, but it really is nuts and bolts. Here's what astrology is.
Mhm.
And you can believe it or not. But
Yeah.
before you judge it, know what it is
Yeah.
and why so many people practice it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love
And
that. Contempt prior to investigation doesn't serve anybody.
no, I love the way you said that. And I sort of was like, I wondered what your take on that was, as someone who I know does offer that. Um, and what I like about how she's written it is that she's a therapist and she brings astrology into her practice and she brings
Mm.
therapy into her astrology practice. And she really does allow the two to intersect on behalf of her clients' benefit. And it
Yeah.
seems like such a insightful tool, the way she's using it.
Yeah, I believe it. You know who else did that historically? Carl Jung.
Yes, she talks about Carl Jung.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, one of my favorite astrologers is someone named Jessica Lanyadoo, and she is a humanistic astrologer. And she has said things that I've found every bit as plus, plus, plus more profound than some therapists I've worked with.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that astrology is a framework. I do think it's a tool. I think it's a really valuable tool that can really, I feel what it does with how I've been using it with people so far, it really widens the lens of context about who
Mm,
they are and why they struggle with certain things and why certain things feel easier for them. I find it just uncanny the way that it's all pretty much like written out from the moment they enter the planet as to why some very valid reasons why that may be the case.
yeah.
Um, so, and this is straight from Jessica Lanyadoo also, but I don't look at astrology as a predictive tool so much as a context, a bunch of scaffolding that can provide really valuable context and things to
Yeah.
be aware of to deepen one's intimacy with himself and their patterns.
Yeah. I think that's such an important distinction because popularly, I think there's a sense that, like, oh, I wish I could know what my future holds. I have so much uncertainty and fear today. I just
Yeah.
want to hear and with certainty that it's going to be okay. And astrology offers that and from the predictive lens, but then from that contextual lens, which I'm appreciating more today than when I first understood what astrology was. It helps me to just center myself in the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it takes so much pressure off, and I think really helps to alleviate shame sometimes for
Mm,
people when they've struggled by, sort of stepping in the same holes over and over again. And it's
yeah.
like, well, you don't come by that in a vacuum. Like these aspects in your chart really predispose you to probably feel a pull to do that.
Yeah. Well, I'll be, like I said, I will be making an appointment with you.
Thank you. I look
Um,
forward to that.
would you like people to contact you? If so, how should people contact you and for what should they contact you?
Wait, sure. I'm always open to inviting people to come see what I have to offer. I would say that the ways to find me, there are three ways. I'm not a big social media person, but I am on LinkedIn. Just my name, Keith Aron. I also have a website. It's simply my name, keitharon.com. And I can also be found on Substack. I write a Substack called Big Blue Sky Dragonfly, but you can also just find me at Keith Aron. And I would say, I'm open to people, if anything people heard on this in this conversation resonated, let's just have a chat and see how we might work together. I mean, I do work predominantly with queer and trans identified and allied clients, but I also work with cis hetero clients and clients of every identity. So, um, yeah.
Awesome. Wonderful. I feel like I could, I almost want to go for a hike with you and just keep the
I
conversation
would
going.
love that.
Yeah,
Where's the portal?
I
Yeah.
know, I know. Is there anything else you'd like to share before we close?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you. I really enjoyed chatting with you too and getting to know you a little bit. Thank you for your thoughtful questions and for the work that you're doing in the world.
Thank you
It's
so
so
much.
needed.
I
Really
feel
appreciate it.
so honored and grateful. Stacy Kellogg, a coach at RoundTable, introduced us, and I'm grateful that she made this connection. We were sort of like, who should we invite? And she was like, I got the right person for you. So I'm so grateful
Oh,
for that. Thank you for your time,
Stacy's a
for your,
wonderful colleague. Yeah.
yeah, she really is.
Yeah.
Thank you, Keith, for your honesty, your courage, your willingness, your openness, your invitation to be real in this space and time. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you, Priya.